So we just got back from a trip. It was about a 10-day trip, 2 different destinations. The first was my niece's wedding in New Mexico. We were blessed with the opportunity to go on this trip. I was able to reconnect with my brothers who I haven't seen in many years, and share lots of stories and argue about whose memory was right. And it was a good time. My niece was absolutely beautiful at her wedding. She married an absolutely great guy that adores her, and I'm so happy for them. And I hope that they truly keep God first in their marriage, so that they can actually learn how to continue to love each other even through the hard stuff. The second destination on our trip was Juarez, Mexico. And in Juarez, Mexico, that's where we've built, I think, at least 10 houses for families in need. And then Christina and I actually put together a church build project for a church community that needed a church built. And we made lifelong friends there. And as we're getting ready to leave from New Mexico, my friend in Mexico messaged me and says that his dad passed away. It was the day that we were supposed to leave New Mexico to go to Mexico, to Juarez. And I was just, my heart hurt so bad, because I've known this man, I've grown to love this man, and it was very sudden. It was about 4 days from Friday to Monday, and he passed away. And so I told my friend, my brother in Mexico, that I would wait to come to Mexico to let them prepare and grieve and deal with the things without having us added into the mix to worry about. And so we waited till Tuesday to go down, and we got there Tuesday about, I'd say 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. And they were having an all-night vigil with his dad's casket and body in the church that we built. And many people showed up. And then they were going to have the funeral on Wednesday. And so Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, we all went to the church that we helped build, that God blessed us with the ability to build for this community. And it was packed, standing room only. There was no more seats available. And you could tell that this man was deeply loved, that he was cared about, that he had touched many people's lives. And though I don't understand Spanish very well, I understand a few words, but I don't speak it, I don't understand it well. But in that moment, when everyone was singing, it was different than we have funerals up here in the States. We sang worship songs glorifying God, saying how amazing God is. And I've never experienced that at a funeral before. But being able to, through the pain, through the chaos of losing someone very rapidly, unexpectedly, being able to worship together, even in different languages, was absolutely amazing. And that was a deep emotional piece for me, thinking about the church that we built, what was it, 7 years ago? 7 years ago, we helped build this church. We took 2 teams down at 2 different times and built this church. And now we're having a funeral for the father of the pastor who pastors this church. And I just think about God's grace. The grace of God that allowed us to be part of what he was doing 1,000 miles from where I live. And those of you that know me Know that I was a junkie for 16 years. Know that I was a criminal. I was absolutely a scumbag. And I know people don't like me calling myself a scumbag, but I was a scumbag. And God turned that around. And the fact that I was chosen by God to go and do this in this different country with these people that I don't understand their language, and to meet them. And we call it our missionary, actually, that helped us, or that led us on these house builds, told us this was years in the making. When we went to have dinner at the church one time when we were having a house build. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, the pastor's wife grew up in a house that our mission outfit built that grew her closer to God. And then she married a man of God, and then they built this church that was outside. It was an outside church, no roof. And then years and years later, after we had built the church, we're on a house build, and we go to spend time with our friends and family at the church that we built. And he says, this was years in the making. And I'm talking years in the making. I was a drug addict for 16 years. I was a scumbag. And God still knew exactly what he was going to do years and years later. I had no idea. I had no idea that I would be building a church when I was deep in my addiction. No idea. Far from God, denied God's existence. And he chose this ex-scumbag, this redeemed scumbag that he redeemed only by his blood. He chose me to lead and to build and to disciple. That blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. But years in the making. I was a drug addict. I went to jail facing 27 years in prison. I had no one left to turn to except for God. And I turned to him and I asked for his help. He helped the next morning after I asked for his help. Instant prayer. Instant answer to prayer. And that set me on a course to come in contact with this family that's 1,000 miles away. And then my niece's wedding is on this day, this last Saturday. The day after my friend's father was put in the hospital. He was in the hospital all weekend. I was able to spend the weekend while he's in the hospital with my brothers, reconnecting, growing closer with them, talking faith, talking God stuff. And then he passes away. We give them one day to figure things out, and then we were able to go down there. And my friend who lost his father on Monday, as we're sitting there the day after the funeral, he told me that my video about my dad, who had passed away 9 years ago, now he can understand. He couldn't understand when his dad was still alive, but now he could understand what I was talking about in that video, talking about my dad. And that he was so grateful that I was there. And I think about this years in the making. Years in the making. 12 years ago, I was a junkie scumbag. An abusive, I would say literal trash by the choices that I put myself into. 12 years later, I'm able to sit with a man that I can't fully understand his language. And we can grieve our fathers together. And grief is a universal language. I believe that God lined all of this up perfectly. If my niece would have not been getting married, I would not have been in Juarez on Tuesday of this last week. And to that I say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for using an ex-scumbag, that you redeemed scumbag like me. Because I'm not a scumbag anymore. So thank you, Lord, for that. So if you think you've gone too far, if you think you've done things that you can't come back from, it's not true. That's a lie from the enemy. And you have no idea where God's going to take you. You have no idea. I had no idea. My wife had no idea. My kids had no idea. Put your trust in Him, follow after Him, and He will take you to places you never thought possible. I promise you that. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And I wish God's blessings on all of you.